Welcome to Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, the creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. For the past 9 years, I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I started raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott. For the past 9 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself, and I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned on this journey. As the Alternative Dog Moms, we're bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and sharing the tips, tricks, and resources we learn along the way. Now, let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So, oh my God, what has been going on with Rodrigo?
Rodrigo tried to die, and it was horrible. But I think this has been building up for a week or so. And I'm trying to figure out what it could be. Like, I don't know if it's a heart issue. I don't know if it's a nervous system issue. I think it might be a little bit of everything because he's 13 and a half. Or almost 13 and a half. And I think that his body is just not what it was. And it's funny because now that everything is sort of stabilizing, I think about my friend Kathy's dog, Harley, and what he went through. And it's not the same, but it's like, oh, this is old age. A week or so ago, Rodrigo had this where he was kind of listless. He wasn't really eating, and he was already coming off the side effects of the PEA supplement that I gave him. So I wasn't sure if he just was still recovering or if I wasn't sure what was going on, but he wasn't really interested in eating. He was kind of listless. All of a sudden his gums went crazy white. I mean, he'll have pale gums where his gums, because I'm that person, ever since Scout, I check gums like all the times of the dogs because I want to get used to what do your gums normally look like. So gums, the color of your gums changes all throughout the day. But his there are times when it's like, well, they're pale. So is this bad? But when they're pale, it's not like a pale pink. They're full on white. I mean, it's just, they're white. So his gums were white. He was just really just kind of out of it, not really focused. You could not get him to stand up. I mean, if you stood him up, he would just collapse back down. And it's Labor Day weekend. Well, this is the first time it happened. I wasn't sure what happened. I decided to just let him be. His stomach, I touched his stomach and he yelped, and his stomach was really distended. And I wondered if it was gas. And so I gave him a half of a Gas X. And that just seemed to be the thing to do it. And it just sort of, he like calmed down. He slept through the night, got up in the morning. His gums were pinking up again and he was feeling better. And, he was interested in eating a little bit. And then he slowly got better and then he was fine. So it was not even 24 hours, but it was insane. Then this time it happened on a Saturday. I took him for that walk. I saw that awful woman who was walking her off-leash dogs, and I got him home. He was fine. He ate, settled down. But then as the evening went on, he just sort of seemed off again. And I went to check his gums, white. And this time, when he would try to get up, you could tell he was trying to get up. He couldn't get up. His legs were just going in all directions. He was just a mess. And that it wasn't that bad that night, but it was sort of like concerning. But I decided, let's see if maybe the walk was too much, maybe the stress of that event was too much. So let's just wait. Through the night, he was restless, moaning type of thing. And just, I was getting up with him to take him outside. Nothing was really happening, but he was just not himself. Following morning, still pale gums, listless, not eating, can't stand. We just decided this is Sunday, let him rest. But I'm sitting here thinking, I think this is it. I think he's, because everything that he was exhibiting was exactly what Sydney was like at the end, exactly what Scout was like on that last day. Not exactly, but, very similar. So I was thinking this is the end. And so I actually called to have someone come today, Tuesday, to euthanize him because I didn't want him to suffer. And I was thinking, it's time to let him go. And so I'm petting him and I'm trying not to cry. I'm telling him, if you have to go, I understand. But it's like, but if you could hold on, I'd appreciate it. And of course, I am, that I'm religious. And so I'm praying to God and I'm just sort of like, you know what, if it's your will to take my dog away, then I'm going to accept that. He had a great life. I learned so much from him. He wasn't supposed to live this long. Even Johan said, I feel like we're on borrowed time with him because he was not supposed to live this long. So we are so lucky to have had him. I will let him go. So it's like, let go, let God. I'm not going to stress about this. I'm just going to let what happened happen. Not long after I came to that realization, I remembered the Your Go-To by Adored Beast. And it's something that a friend had. She gave it to me when her dog passed away. I grabbed it and it's a homeopathic remedy. It has 2 ingredients. I can't remember off the top. I know one is arnica.
Arnica.
And the other one is, it has a name, but it's a wolfsbane. And basically it's to be used during trauma. If your dog has a fever, if your dog has swelling, bruising, pain, GI upset. It's basically if something shocks your dog and something emergency is happening, this is what you reach for. And there's a protocol. So you give it to your dog, 2 squirts in the mouth, 30 minutes later, 2 squirts in the mouth, and then 30 minutes later. So a third time, 2 squirts in the mouth. After that, you wait 2 hours, 2 squirts in the mouth, and then another 2 hours, 2 squirts in the mouth. Then the next day you do it. If your dog hasn't fully recovered, the next day you do it 3 times, 2 squirts in the mouth. And then you can do it a third day, 3 times, 2 squirts in the mouth. So today was the 3rd day. But I remember that I grabbed it within probably by the time I did it, I did the 3 30-minute things. Rodrigo's gums were pinkening up again. And by the time I got to the first 2 hours, he was interested in eating. I was eating peanuts and he got up and he walked over to me hesitantly and he just looked at me and I just sort of gave him a peanut and he ate them and then was looking at me again and I gave him another peanut. So I was like, okay. And when I say he walked over to me, it wasn't a far walk. It was a very short walk. But, he was interested in eating, but I didn't want to push it. I waited another couple hours and then, I gave him the last dosage and then wait, you're not supposed to let him eat or drink within 20 minutes of a dosage. So I waited a little longer and then I gave him a little bit, like a few treats and stuff some homemade treats that I have. And he was interested in those and just really and then looking. And every time I walked past the room, he'd look at me like, hey, you going to feed me? You're going to feed me. So he was up, he spent a whole day where if you lifted his head, it was like you were lifting dead weight because he was just so listless. But now he was perking up and looking and interested in what we were doing. And so that was Sunday. Monday, same thing. He was a lot better. He was getting up, going outside, interested in things. And today, he was eating. So he's not eating, he usually eats, 12 to 13 ounces a meal. But lately that's decreased to about 10 ounces a meal. And he's been eating his whole meal. I have to hand feed it, but he's sitting there waiting. And at one point in time, I wasn't hand feeding him fast enough. So he just started eating off my hand and out of the bowl at the same time. And today today's even better. And it's one of those where each day he's just a little bit better where there's something. So today we would go outside. And one thing that he always does is he falls to the ground and rolls around. And so today he started doing that again. Each time we went outside, he fell to the ground and rolled around. And he wanted to go down to the pond and because he loves to sniff around down there, but I wouldn't let him. And so he just starts wandering around. And I don't want him to go too far because I don't want him to overexert himself.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of keeping him just keeping him calm. So for now, he's fine. I started the gold standard herbs today. I can't remember which ones I got, but they were the ones for joint health. So there's one that's specifically for the spine and hips, and then there's one for the joints. And so I basically, because it's just a powder, and by the way, these jars are filled to the top. I'm so impressed. I'm always so impressed with any supplement where they give you tons of the supplement. But he will not eat anything with supplements in his food. So I have capsules from when Sydney was diagnosed with cancer. And so I scooped, and I have a little scooper, and you scoop it into the capsule, and I just put it in his mouth. So I'm starting at a very low dose. So probably a quarter of what the bottle says once a day, or I would say half of what the bottle says once a day. And I'm mixing them together. And I'll do that for the next week, and then I'll slowly increase it. And then he's also getting cordyceps from real mushrooms. He gets the horse ease from CBD Dog Health. And I have an immune support mushroom supplement from Earth Buddy Pet. I was giving that to him, but since he had this situation, I kind of just backed off on everything. And because his eating is so weird, I've resorted to scooping the digestive enzymes into a capsule, and they're beef gelatin capsules, but into a capsule and putting that down his throat. And right now, instead, I'm not doing that with his main digestive enzyme. I'm doing it with the Healthy Gut by Adored Beast, and to see, how he does with that. And so far he's doing okay. So hopefully a week from now, I don't know if he'll ever go back to where he was a month ago, but I hope that he'll stabilize.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
With him having the EPI, you're saying he has to have certain digestive enzymes for that, right?
Yeah. And usually I put it over his food and it pre-digests his food. But I know that there are digestive enzyme capsules where you can give your dog the capsule, because that's where he started. Not when he was diagnosed with EPI, but years ago, that's what I used to do. And it's not as good, but it's better than nothing. And as long as the digestive enzymes are in his gut, it takes 8 hours for our dogs to digest their food. So as long as, if I give them the digestive enzymes, I'm trying to do it either right before a meal or with a meal. I don't want them to be in there too long without food.
Right.
But right before a meal, and because I don't want to give it to him because I have to put it down his throat. I'm still putting a little bit in his food, but I've had to reduce the dosage greatly. And that might be a good idea because he has lost so much weight and stuff, so he doesn't need as much. But it's just trying to figure out how it's going to work. I doubt that I'll have to give him the pill every day. I think it's just going to be on the days when he's just not eating enough. But he gets really weird about his food because he's like, nope, had that. I'm tired of that now. I want something different. So I'm so grateful that I was smart enough to, when I ordered Farmer's Dog, because right now, other than the freeze-dried and air-dried protein treats, the only thing he'll eat is the Farmer's Dog. Aww. So I'm so grateful that I ordered 3 different proteins. So he's getting the pork, the chicken, and the beef, and I just have to alternate him. And I'm basically he'll eat it for 2 meals, and then he's done. Then he needs another protein. So right now we're back to chicken. Tonight he was just like, no, I'm not eating that. And it's so sad because he turns his nose away and he pushes himself away from me. And it's just like, it's gravy. So yeah, he's work. He's work.
How are the other dogs being with him?
Well, I felt like on Saturday they were like floating around him like angels of death because they kept smelling him. And I'm just like, oh my God, they smell death on him. I was really dramatic. I wasn't outwardly dramatic, but I was inwardly just falling completely apart.
Yeah, I knew that feeling.
And so, but now the most thing they do is, because if he drops food, when he's done eating, and he's not a clean eater, they'll come and clean up what he doesn't finish. And he's just like, yeah, whatever, clean it up, peons. And the only thing that I have to be careful of is when everyone wants to go outside and Rico wants to go with us, everyone gets super excited and I have to calm them down because like Bella has her little tail and she's knocked into Rico and he's like wobbling and it's like, no, you need to settle down. So just being able to keep an eye on him while also keeping an eye on them. It's been a little more challenging than normal, but for the most part, the dogs don't really interact with each other beyond just doing group barking when something's going on outside. The only two dogs that truly interact with each other are Bella and Apollo. But Zoe's kind of, Zoe will want to come out. She'll want to come for walks when we go for walks. And Zoe and Rodrigo will want to come outside when we all come outside. But for the most part, when we're in the house, they're just in the room with me. And they're just like, yeah. And they don't dislike each other. They just don't really interact with each other. So they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's times like this where like it really puts it into perspective about like living in the moment, and you're literally like living moment to moment, meal to meal, waiting to see what happens. Like makes you very present.
Yeah, it does. And it's like I think I still, I don't want my dog to leave me. I mean, he's, we call him, he's my first dog as an adult. He's my first dog. And, he's been with me for, 13 years. And so I'm not ready to let him go. But I know that the time that I've had has been a gift. And so, I definitely don't want him to suffer. And so thankfully right now he's not suffering. He's just kind of getting used to this new body. I have it's called what is it called? Not a gentle leader. It's this thing where you put it around their waist and you can walk with them.
Yeah. Is it like the help them up harness or something?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a name for it. And I got it from, I think, I don't know if I was at Super Zoo where they had a booth years and years ago and they gave me one. And I used it with Sydney. I used it with Scout, and I brought it out to use it with Rodrigo. And he was just like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just going to stand here and I'm not moving. So he would move when I took it off. So he's not ready for that yet, but I do have to, because he can't jump on the furniture right now. So I do have to pick him up on the furniture if he wants to be on the furniture. But then I'm terrified because what if he wants to get down and he can't get down? His front legs and stuff are fine. It's his back legs that are a problem. So I'm going to be ordering some footies too for his back legs to help him when he wants to stand. But right now I'm kind of waiting on that a little bit just in case. I know he won't want to wear them, but maybe he will just, I don't know, maybe he'll just accept it. But if I just put him on like at night when I can't be around or put him on when I have to leave the house. So maybe but I just need to figure out which ones because they have a ton of them, but they're booties for out in the weather. And I need specific ones that give you traction on hardwood floors.
Yeah.
So, and I know like Kathy had some for Harley and I looked those up and they're great, but I should say they were a brand that we talked about once. Those were great, but they're crazy expensive. And what I'm looking for is maybe like a packet of them so that I can change them out. And so I found a few ideas on Amazon. So I'm going to order those tonight and hopefully get those in a couple days.
Oh, good. Yeah, we had a funny thing with Nino. He's gotten more hesitant about jumping up on the bed. And we have stairs that we've had since, we got Penny, and he completely refuses to use the stairs. We've tried so hard to get him, to try to lure him with treats, and just he completely refuses to use the stairs. And so the other night, Tim had gone to bed and I needed to blow dry my hair. And so we have like the bathroom that connects. So our bathroom has like a door to the hallway and also a door into our bedroom. And so I had like shut both doors so I could blow dry my hair, so it would block out the noise of Tim being in bed. Well, I guess poor Nino had gone to go jump up in bed, but it was too dark with the door being shut. So I came out of the bathroom after I got done, and he's just standing there next to the bed, just staring at it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's been standing here for like 5 or 10 minutes. And like the light on to be able to see, to get up on the bed. Like,
oh my God. Oh, that's so bad. Yeah. And that's what Rigo was doing last night. I was sitting where I'm sitting now, working, and he just came and stood at me, and he's just staring at the bed, and he finally just puts his chin on the bed. And so I get up and I try to like give him a boost. It's like, well, okay, boost up and I'll, put your front legs up and I'll boost you up. But I forgot his hind end isn't what it used to be. So he can't put any weight on his back legs right now. So I just picked him up and put him on the bed. But it's funny how the little things that make you so happy, like he was able to lift a leg once today. And I was just like, oh my gosh, good for you. Look at you. And he held it. And it's just like, yay, there you go. Good job. So I'm hoping 2 weeks from now, I'm hoping that he will have stabilized and we'll be good to go. I'm going to put in a call to his veterinarian because nothing came through. I mean, I know that there are other tests that you can do, but nothing came through that raised any type of concern when he had his blood work done. So I think that, he's old age. And I have like a good friend of mine, her dog is a similar age. I think he's a year younger, and he's going through the same thing where he'll just suddenly just fall down. He'll just like sort of like that. The world will tilt on him a little bit, but then he'll be fine. I've seen him like a few times and he's been perfectly fine every time I see him. So I'm hoping that it's just one of those where it comes and goes. And when it's time, it'll be time.
I mean, it's not like there's ever going to be a time where you're going to be ready, and
yeah.
So
I was just so happy to send the email off to the vet to say, you don't have to come. He rebounded. And she was just like, oh my God, I'm so happy, because she's the same person that came with when we had Sydney, and she's just so wonderful. Since it was a holiday, there was just no way I can get him into a vet, or the emergency vet that's closest to us that I usually go to is closed now. They don't do 24-hour and holidays and stuff anymore. But they're like my backup vet. And I could have called, God, somebody's trying to get in here. I could have called my girlfriend and said, hey, I have an emergency, and she would have opened the clinic and helped me out. But I didn't. I really just had faith that it would be okay. It just, I don't know. Excuse me. While
Who is it?
It was Apollo. I just have it cracked. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but he's out there and he doesn't know how to open the door. And I have something blocking the door to keep him from just busting it open, and he's just hitting it. And he's just standing out there like, I don't understand why the door is closed. Nothing should be closed to me. Uh-huh. So Paulo and then, Bella's behind him go, knock on it again. Maybe she didn't hear you. Who's she talking to? But I'm just so relieved that he's feeling better. And oh my gosh. So this is it. I mean, and to be honest, this is my first time having, a geriatric dog. I mean, because Sydney died at 10. And I had 5 weeks of just, maybe like a taste of what it is.
Right.
But, she died of cancer, and then Scout died at 9, and he was fine all the way up until the end. So this is the first time that I've just had to deal with from day to day, figuring out what's going to work. And especially with the EPI, I mean, that's another thing, is that he has EPI. This is, granted, dogs can live with EPI, but it's like a big deal, that fact that he's doing so well. And so I'm just gonna, it's a gift, and I'm gonna take it and appreciate it.
Do you have any information about like the average lifespan for a dog with EPI? Like, I bet he's blown it out of the water.
That is a good question. I don't know. I'm typing it in. But by the way, the average lifespan of a cat is 12 to 18 years, because, the autofill.
Oh.
Yeah, you can just have a normal life expectancy.
Oh, good.
Except for, how Google will give you results. So that was the first result. The second result said 19% of treated dogs were euthanized within a year. It's like, but the overall medium survival time for treated dogs is 1,919 days. So divided by 365. So 5 years. Well, 5.25 years. So
he's still blowing that out of the water too.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. I mean, he was diagnosed in 2019, but I think he kind of had it along, he had low grade something going on for years before that. So yeah, he has. I'm going to be grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you see that thing that, like random topic change that Rodney posted about vaccinations and the fact that, people, like, what is it? 50% of American dog owners are hesitant about vaccinations.
Oh boy, do I have thoughts.
Okay. So I'm trying to say this in a way that's not going to get me in trouble, because I just cannot stay out of trouble this year. But I have gotten to a point where I just don't want to read it. And I try to pretend like I don't see it. But that one got me, because I was just sort of like, wait a minute, really? Because how is it that only, I don't know what the real percentage is, but 5%, like 5% of people are feeding fresh food. And I just expect that that's growing, but 5% of dog owners are feeding fresh food, but 40% are hesitant about vaccinations. And that made me like, are they lumping us in with, and I just wondered, and I hate the fact that I walk around now with this perpetual tinfoil hat on, but I immediately read the article, and it was confirmed that you guys are lumping us in with the COVID anti-vaxxers.
Yes.
And and what bothered me was early on in the article, it said, if they question the COVID vaccine, they're more than likely go. And I'm like, no, you don't get, these are two completely different topics.
Yeah. That was what angered me so much.
It was so dismissive.
Yeah.
Because the COVID vaccine, granted, I was vaccinated. I can understand a lot of the issues people have with the COVID vaccine, the fear, I should say, that goes around the COVID vaccination. But it's a completely different conversation, because the COVID vaccination isn't required by law. Granted, there are some professions that they are required to have the COVID vaccine, but I can go through life without being vaccinated again, without getting a booster, and no one will say. But when it comes to our dogs, we're very much strong-armed into getting vaccinations. And when I hear about what is it called? People having a reaction to the COVID vaccine, I understand that overall, this is a small percentage. That doesn't mean that I'm safe, because I could fall into that small percentage. But overall, it's a small percentage. When it comes with dogs, I don't know what the true percentage of dogs having a reaction is. Because how many people don't know that that's what's happening to their dogs, and it's not reported as a vaccine reaction?
I would challenge that that's going on with the COVID vaccine too.
That too. But we don't know. There's not, in both cases, there's not enough testing. There's not enough information. And ever since I watched that series on Hulu, the one about the pharmaceutical industry with Michael Keaton. That was so good. And I'm going to look it up so I can say it again. But ever since I watched that, and even before I watched that, I listened to interviews about the pharmaceutical industry and how it works. It does make me a little hesitant. Now, it doesn't make me anti-vax. It just makes me, and I think that a lot of people feel this way in our community. It just makes me like, why? Like, if I live in the city, why do my dogs need to be vaccinated against something that they would encounter if we lived in a rural area? If I live in Washington where there's no heartworm except for dogs that come from other states, why do I need to give my dogs heartworm medicine? And, and this whole, well, just in case doesn't work for me. I mean, I want to actually be protecting my dog against something that is a true risk. And, also, if my dog is a senior dog or if my dog has a health issue, why would I exacerbate that by also tacking on a vaccine? So their body is now fighting all these different things. And there's nothing that does not make me this anti-vax conspiracy theorist. It just makes me like, I just want to make sure I'm doing my best. And so, because I never take responsibility for anything that I do, I blame you. Because I'm reading this and at first I skimmed it, then I went back and read it. And then I went back to find how many people were part of this study, and 2,000 people. And of course they don't tell you. I want to know, where were these people at? And what was the goal? Because I see this with our media, where they will say they will splice and dice an interview to show it to you to go, ooh, look at what this person said. Isn't it horrible? We'll all be like, what? And then you go back and you listen to the entire interview and realize how out of context that clip is. And so if you're going to basically interview maybe 2,000 people, I don't know, in the heart of Florida, or, maybe, I don't know what other states that maybe in Florida and Texas, let's talk about the red states, or you just basically go through and look on social media and start pushing it out to people who push out QAnon content and things like that. And those are the people that you're trying to get to come and take your survey. Then it's not, and which makes me think that that's where did the whole COVID come? I mean, if you're talking about vaccines for pets, why are we talking about COVID? I'm aggravated by it. I'm done.
It was just so gross. So I guess the Science Daily press release is not the actual study itself, but when you read this press release that's being shared, it made my head want to explode, because one of the things it says is about 37% of dog owners also believe that canine vaccination could cause their dogs to develop autism.
Yes. I mean, so they paint us like we're absolute morons. I mean, and granted, yes, there's probably people who are concerned about that. I mean, think about when COVID happened and everyone surrendered their dog because they thought, oh my God, my dog can give me COVID. And, so people, to me, it's like, where are they getting their information from? And to me, I want to see the questions. I want to see the questions that were asked and how they were asked. Because did you give people leeway? If they had to choose from a few and it was just one of those where, I guess this is the best one. 1
through 5, things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so is this truly what they think? And that goes back to, who are these people?
To me, it just seems like the agenda was to paint, these people with a broad stroke that, people are, even hesitant to vaccinate their dogs. They're all the crazy anti-vaxxer, and that's going to start meaning everybody's going to get rabies or something. It just seemed like it had such an agenda, and that just grosses me out.
Yeah. I was really disappointed that, I mean, I thought it was, I'm glad that Rodney shared it, because I think that it created a really interesting conversation. I didn't read the comments on his post, but I shared it. And so I was really interested in the conversations that people had. But I'm just so disappointed.
Because, like, on one hand, right, like the headline of saying, like, oh, more people are starting to question this sounds good,
Yes.
because I think people should question it.
Exactly.
But then when you're reading, you know, how this was presented in this specific study, I think it's gross. And I think it was done with an agenda, and I think it's crappy.
Yeah. And I'm looking at, I mean, this isn't the study, but I'm looking at the abstract, and it's just very thin. Where, and it, you know, and it says, well, they responded to a study by, you know, YouGov, and it makes you think, oh, this is a government entity, and it's like, it's not. It's just, you don't know what this thing is. It's a marketing firm, you know, that does surveys probably. It was just very, very misleading. And I find it just kind of interesting that, you know, we're coming into an election season, and now suddenly they're bringing they're coming after our dogs. You know, they're bringing all of this stuff back up with the new COVID strain that's coming out. And this is something it's like, come on, guess what, guys? It's not 2020 anymore. We've been watching your shenanigans for a few years now. And so now, tinfoil hat back on. I don't buy it. I mean, I'm not surprised that you can find people that feel this way. I mean, you can find people that believe all kinds of things when it comes to, you know, any,
like, instead of like quoting the actual, you know, studies that say, oh, it's actually shown rabies vaccines last for at least 7 years, if not longer.
Yes.
And oh, when you like, it had nothing to do with titers. It had nothing to do with like the actual science of it. Had nothing to do with about like the over vaccination of like the distemper, you know, combo vaccines, and how, you know, vets tell you need to get them done every year, and like it was none of the like actual stuff about why over vaccination is bad.
Yeah, what's in the vaccine? Let's talk about the ingredients. You know, I expected it to even go into, well, this is the rate at which dogs have reactions. You know, just tell me something.
None of that.
No.
And then it's like, oh, and you know, rabies is always, you know, almost always fatal if left untreated. And it's like, and how many cases of rabies do we really have in the US? Like, I understand there are parts of the world where that's not the case, but like, God.
So it's funny. Matt Moda, advancing the study of misinformation correction through conjoint experimentation. He's an assistant professor at Boston University. Because I'm just like, who the hell are these people behind this study? But here's something that's interesting that he was a part of. And this is one of the people that did this study. Which vaccines should governments purchase in a pandemic? I mean, this isn't about dogs. It's about, you know, who competing endorsements and vaccination willingness. True scientists and their role in society. Yeah, that's basically, this is just another way for them to go out. Dog autism, 30% of U.S. dog owners buy into anti-vaccine. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even saying that that's not a complete impossibility, but like, just, oh my God.
We don't know, but it's like, let's have the conversation. I mean, and to me, I go back to, you know, what I do. And when I'm doing a review, I want to think about all sides of a topic. And hey, and let's talk about something recently. I tried PEA with Rodrigo a month ago. He had a terrible reaction. He had a very good response at first, the first couple of days, but then everything went south and it was horrible. And when I talked about it on social media, other people reached out to me and said they had the exact same experience. I even heard from an herbalist, a veterinarian, both who said, yeah, this is something that can happen. It's a little known side effect. I looked all over everywhere to find evidence of, like, does anyone talk about this as a side effect? No one did. And finally, I found one reference, and then someone else who did the same research when her dog got sick sent me another link. So it's basically, there is a side effect where some people, and what I found it was is in reviews for the supplement on Amazon. If you have digestive issues, some people were like, it just gave me digestive issues. And other people were like, I have IBS and it made it 10 times worse.
Wow.
And then when I found in the studies, if you keep reading into studies, it says this can happen, but it usually resolves on its own. But this is all with humans. We have no idea how a dog is going to respond. And especially a dog like Rodrigo, who has EPI. And a lot of the people that I talked to, a lot of their dogs had pre-existing digestive issues. And so it was just not a good fit. But the thing about it is, when I wrote my article about my experience and what happened, I covered everything. And I covered the benefits of this supplement, the fact that it isn't supposed to interact with, negatively with drugs. It's not supposed to have any side effects. It's supposed to be this really basic, all natural supplement that helps with inflammation. It's supposed to be a game changer, and it is for a lot of people. And I acknowledge that. But I also acknowledge that there is a little known rare side effect that if your dog has a digestive issue, I'm not saying don't use this supplement. I'm saying be aware that this is something that can happen. So go easy, go slowly, start little, and slowly build.
And if you see a problem, stop the supplement immediately.
Exactly. And at least you know what it is, and you're not spending thousands of dollars in tests at the vet to try to figure out what's going on with your dog. It's covering everything. And I feel like a lot of these, so-called studies could do the same thing, or even the articles that are reporting on the study. Yeah, take in, this is what they said, but also acknowledge that there are genuine concerns. I get so tired of people who are completely incapable of criticizing. Like, if we criticize someone or something, then we're crazy. You must be a QAnon supporter. I mean, no, it's like, I'm a human being with a brain.
Right, and, like, there's no shades of gray. You're either like...
Yeah, you're either far left or you're far right. Yeah. And whatever it is, you're crazy and I don't want to talk to you. Where it's like, no, everything can be criticized. We can have pros and cons to everything. And if there's a con, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a negative. It's, what doesn't work for me may work fine for other people. When I wrote that article and shared my experience, I got so many messages from people thanking me for letting them know. No one was saying that they would never use PEA. They were saying, now I know, I'm going to go easy. Or I have a dog that has really severe digestive issues, so maybe I won't try it with him, but I'm going to try it with my other dog. I mean, that's the message that I got from a lot of people. And it's just like, there's nothing wrong with sharing accurate information and educating people. But when you manipulate facts just to push an agenda so that, you can be like, oh, those stupid dog owners, they think their dogs are going to get autism if they get, vaccinated. It's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Come on. Our dogs are over vaccinated. What are we protecting our dogs from? I mean, remember the dog flu vaccine? No one talks about that anymore. Why is that? I mean, it's interesting to me that they're constantly and they do the same thing with food and everything, where if we question anything, it's not enough for them to go, oh, that's an interesting question. Let me give you an answer. No, they have to dismiss and beat you down and make you feel like you're an idiot for asking the question. And unfortunately, they bumped up against a community that we have been called idiots, most of the time by each other for years. So it's like, you're not scaring me off. I still have questions. No, I don't think my dog is going to get autism. But now that you bring it up, it's like, I don't know what's going on with my dog. So let's talk about it. And if you're not able to give me answers, or if this is how you choose to address the topic, you're making it even worse because you're making me like, I definitely don't want to subject my dog because it's like, it looks like you guys don't even know what's going on. I mean, well, it's like, to me, I know I'm talking a lot, that veterinarian, Dr. M on YouTube, where it's like, okay, so you it's clear you don't like Dr. Karen Becker. That's fine. But you made an entire video to debunk her. But most of the stuff that you said was easily proven incorrect by your own colleagues. And when that's brought to your attention, instead of actually having a respectful conversation about it, or even being willing to be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that acupuncture has been widely studied and touted as beneficial for pain relief. So maybe I need to look into that more. Instead of doing that, you were just like, well, you can find anything that supports what you believe when you look at blogs. And it's just like, you didn't help yourself. You thought you were, I mean, I don't think she was trying to help anyone. I think that she clearly has an issue with Dr. Becker, and she did content about that. But let's pretend that she did care. She didn't do herself any favors, because you have to be willing. So this whole rant, I'm coming to the end. You have to be willing to look at all sides of an issue and accept that you may have gotten something wrong and be open to new information. And when people put out studies like this, it's so frustrating, because you guys have the power to really make effective change in the lives of dogs, and you blew it just to needle people who don't want to get a COVID vaccine.
Mic drop.
I'm done. So the series I was talking about was Dope Sick, which is awesome. If you guys have not watched it, you need to watch it. It will change. It was so well done. I mean, gosh, I'm still like thinking about what I saw in that, it was just so well done. But I mean, it makes you question everything. I mean, it makes you question everything when people are profiting off of our health and our death and our sickness. You can't help but want to be, to have concerns, to have questions. There's nothing wrong. And it cracks me up that in a country that was founded on, good, wholesome Christian values, and let's not talk about the ugly stuff, but, the good, wholesome Christian values and freedom of speech and all these things, that we're constantly shutting each other up by shaming each other, because it's like, no, you're stupid. Anyway, yeah, I'm really done.
Well, I'm just, one of my favorite movies from 20 years or so ago was Zoolander, the first one.
Yes.
And there's that scene at the end where Will Ferrell's character is like, is everybody taking crazy pills? Like, they're all the same look. And I gotta tell you, like, there's so many times in my day where I feel like that character, where I'm like, everybody is taking crazy pills. Yeah. And like, we went to the grocery store the other day, and it's after September 1st now, so all the Halloween stuff's out. Yes, and cool. So there were like all of these like displays, like end caps, and these like displays in the middle of the aisles with all the cereals like Count Chocula and Boo Berry and Frankenberry and all this stuff. And all these kids were like, trying, and I was just like, oh God, like I would never eat like any of that. And then there's like all the candy, and I'm just like, oh God, like I wouldn't eat any of this stuff, and then, and I don't know, Tim and I just got into this whole conversation about like just how insane it is, like with the marketing of things, especially to kids, and just how like it creates this idea that like you're supposed to eat all this because it's Halloween, and it's like, none of this is good for you. No, this is all horrible. Like, if there's a commercial for it, don't eat it. It means it's horrible.
What's funny is that it used to be these were things for treats. Like when you went trick or treating, you can come home with a huge haul of candy, but you got to pick, and it was rationed out over months. I mean, and I suspect that a lot of it ended up being donated or thrown in the trash because I was not allowed access.
Oh no, I think my dad ate it.
But it was just like, but it was rationed out. And but, and it cracks me up because, oh, I hear Bella barking. It cracks me up because you're right. There are so many things that I used to eat that I look at now. Like it's not real food. It doesn't taste like real food. This morning I was running around. Whenever one of my dogs is sick, I don't eat. It's just hard for me to eat. So I'm forcing myself to eat stupid things just to get something in my system. But what's funny is that I cannot eat junk food. I have some junk food in the house. I have certain things that I really love. I love licorice and I love almond M&Ms. Ooh. But even those, and I love gummy bears. I almost forgot. And it has to be a certain brand. Very particular. But because of my mom ration things out, everything I can only have so much a day. I can't just live off of it. But
see, I have the opposite problem. I can't buy anything that's junk because if it's in the house, I will eat all of it at one time. Like Tim will buy a bag of like pretzels and he'll have the bag in there for like 3 weeks and then they get stale and he has to throw the bag away. And I'm like, if I buy something, like I was on a kick of like cheddar cheese popcorn at one point last year. And it was like, if I bought a bag on Sunday, it was gone by Tuesday.
I'm really good at rationing out my snacks. And I'm so good that I end up like the other day, I threw away 3 bags of chips because I was just like, I'm not eating these. And I'm very particular about things because I don't know what happened as I've gotten older. My taste buds are refined, but everything tastes either extremely salty or it tastes like, this is not food. What is this? I mean, I know my red vines aren't food. That's fine. But Pop-Tarts, what are Pop-Tarts? Because they used to be delicious. They taste so funny now. And it's just like, I don't understand. But I like grapes. I am on a grape kick. Oh, I love there's this time of year, there's this certain type of grape where they're big and round. I love grapes. I love salsa. So I'm making salsa sometime this week. I have it all in the fridge, ready to go with all my own vegetables, my peppers, my onions, my tomatoes. Awesome. I'm really excited. It'll probably be like a small bowl by the time it's all done, but that's fine. I'll go and get some tortilla chips and I'll have them and then that'll be my salsa. But some things just like I made the mistake of having McDonald's one day last week and my entire body was like so inflamed, like my joints were killing me. I felt like I had done a huge workout. My joints were hurting so bad after eating that.
I couldn't even imagine. I don't think I've had McDonald's since like 2007. I couldn't horrible. Even like eat it. I mean, I'm not saying I never eat any kind. Like we'll eat like Chick-fil-A sometimes, and every once in a while Tim will get Wendy's, and I might eat like some fries. Which even the fries don't taste good. Their fries, I only like the Chick-fil-A fries. Really, fast food wise,
it's rough. It's like
what's Hershey's chocolate. That's something my mom buys the little wrapped individual bars where there's like a Mr. Good bar and like a crackle and the little individual. And I'm like, I remember loving them as a kid, and now like if I eat like a Mr. Good bar, I'm like, this tastes like wax. Like it doesn't taste funny? Like chocolate. I'm like, what? This isn't that. Like I'm like,
it's one of those where I don't know if my taste buds have changed or if they've started putting weird stuff in the candy. But I'm not really. I mean, just this. I mean, we know that I've heard stories of people where they will live in another country for like foreigners, people who aren't Americans. They eat a certain diet at home and they're in great shape and stuff. And they come here for a few months and they gain a ton of weight. And then they go back home to their normal diet. And it's not that they're eating more food or anything. It's just that their food doesn't have all the stuff that our food has.
Yeah. A lot of the like preservatives and shit in our food, like isn't allowed in other countries. But I guess my whole point about all the food thing was just like, when you look at like what's marketed to us, when you look at, you know, when you're watching the news and they have these like headlines about, oh, this study says blah blah blah, and like, you know, then you go and look it up and see what like the real thing was. Like it just feels like I'm taking crazy pills and I'm in this like bizarre world sometimes, because I'm like, everybody's walking around like buying this stuff and believing this stuff, and it's like, no.
Oh yeah. And people act like, you know, I mean, I'm lucky because my friendship bubble is of the same ilk as I am, but there are people who they live in their own bubble, and, you know, everything makes, you know, what they're eating makes perfect sense to them. My mom lives in such a bubble and she has a horrible diet. It's astounding to me that she's healthy. Because she has a horrible diet, you know, and when we haven't seen each other in years, but one time we were together, and what she was eating throughout the day was just like, and she was just looking at me like, are you on a diet? And I was like, no, I don't eat cookies. Like, we have a box of Chips Ahoy cookies in the kitchen. I will eat like one, maybe two, you know, and then I will ignore, most likely half of that will end up going in the trash. It's just that I saw them at the store. They were on sale and I was like, oh, I used to love those. And so I got some. But Johan will sometimes, very rarely, probably like every few years, will bring home Oreo cookies, because those are his jam. I can't stand them. I like the idea of Oreo cookies. I do not like the taste of Oreo cookies. And so,
yeah, I mean, I liked them as a kid, but now I eat them and I'm like, ugh.
I like the look on your face. You didn't even need to say that. The look on your face told me how you felt about Oreo cookies.
I mean, now talk about like Girl Scout cookies. Like,
oh my God.
I can pound down some Girl Scout cookies.
What
like,
the hell is in Girl Scout cookies?
I don't know.
Now, okay, so now I take it back. That's something that I can have in the house, because once you open a sleeve, I feel like something in the back of my head is saying, they're gonna go stale. Hurry up and eat them. Because I will only eat I don't know what they're called now, but in the blue box, I think they're the shortbready type ones.
Oh yeah, I know what they used to be called, but they used to be the trefoils or something.
Yeah, I think they're still called that.
Are they? Okay. They like changed all the names of them now.
And so for years, those are the only ones I got. And then one day, it was the last day, and some sucker mom, I shouldn't say sucker mom, some mom saw the sucker in me and was like, it's the last day. And, you know, she hasn't really sold. And I was just like, okay, I have cash, even though they'll take debit card now.
Oh, I bet they do.
So I looked at the little girl who's just standing there and just, you know, and I was just like, well, I've only had these. And I really, really like them. I don't like peanut butter at all. I can't stand peanut butter. And it's like, and I'm not really a fan of dark chocolate. What would you recommend? And so I went home with, I remember the lemon ones.
Oh, those lemon ones.
Oh, I remember those. And I think there is some coconut one that I think those were the tagalongs. Those were good.
The tagalongs have the peanut butter.
Is it? Okay, then that's not.
There's the ones with Tim likes those chocolate coconut ones. Yeah.
Well, that's not it. But the coconut ones, and but yeah, the lemon ones were like,
oh yeah.
And that year, I had so many boxes of Girl Scout cookies that I was like giving them. There was one day where I was driving down the street and I was stuck at a light, and this guy was standing there, and I rolled down my window and was like, "Would you like a box of Girl Scout cookies?" And he was just like, "What?" And I'm like, "I have so many, and I keep eating them. And this is brand new. I swear I haven't done anything to it, but I got to stop eating these cookies." And he was like, "Okay." And he came and took them because I was just like, oh, but I have I won't say a standing order, but a coworker of mine, her daughter has been selling Girl Scout cookies since she could start. And it's now all virtual. So I get an email every year with a link where I can go and place my order. And I just click and order what I get. And then it gets delivered to me. It's actually delivered to my desk at work. And so I show up at work and there's a big box of, and people laugh at me because they were like, "How many cookies did you buy?" And it's like, mind your own business.
I was just going to say, don't ask questions. You don't
look at me. I tell myself that the trefoils are the healthiest, because I read an article that's like, well, which ones are the healthiest ones? And they said that those were. So I tell myself, well, this isn't bad. But I gave one to a coworker of mine, and she was like, no, I don't want one because and I was like, you need to take these. I want to support this little girl. So I bought $50 worth of cookies. You're going to take these damn cookies. And the next time I saw her, she was like, yeah, I ate an entire sleeve in a sitting. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, rookie. I used to do that too. Now I basically take them out and put them into Ziploc bags so that this is how much I can have. And once that's gone, it's gone. That's the only way I can trust myself.
I have no self-control like that. I just have to not buy them. Like my self-control has to exist at the store, at the point of purchase. Yeah. Once it's on, like, it's game on.
I know. Oh my God. I love Girl Scout cookies, and they won't be back until like March.
Oh, I thought they were in the fall. Oh, okay.
Right now is the Boy Scouts, or maybe it's the Cub Scouts or something, but it's the boys, because they used to have caramel corn. Boy, we were just way off topic, but they used to have caramel corn, which I would buy. And this time I was walking by and they were like, the dad was like, hey, do you want? And I was just like, or the kid would ask me, I was like, no, I don't want to. And then I walked out the door, and then I came back and was just like, you got caramel corn? And the dad was like, well, yeah, we do have caramel corn with salt. And I'm like, damn it. And I was like, no, I'm the only person in America that doesn't like salted caramel. And he was like, my wife doesn't like it either. And I was like, tell her the next meeting's in 2 weeks, because I was like, oh, why did you ruin caramel by adding salt to it? I just, Oh.
So I don't know if you noticed, but we got a new review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts. I did not. And, you mentioned that we got off topic here a little bit. And I guess this new review was saying that sometimes we got off topic and weren't professionals. And I was like, well, we're not professionals. Our whole thing is that we're dog moms talking about our dog mom life.
Oh, and I think it's sweet that someone would even think that we were professionals.
So if anybody would like to go and leave a 5-star rating on review on Apple Podcasts.
But I do appreciate that it was a 5-star review.
No, it wasn't a 5-star review. Oh.
Well, so far I'm looking at Apple right now, and we only have 7 ratings, and they're all 5-star. I'm trying to see, how do I get to them? Well, maybe they deleted it, or maybe Apple's suppressing them. Like, maybe Apple's like, we don't want to discourage these ladies, so they're just suppressing it. I'm trying to click and see if I can read the review, but it won't even let me read reviews, which sucks.
Okay, so this is what it said.
Okay.
Via Apple Podcast Canada. Too much chit-chat. Constantly chatting with each other. Not sure if they are trying to be professional. Great information on pet health if you are able to extract it from 1 hour of chit-chat.
Thank you. That's very nice.
So I guess I did just want to clarify that we are not professionals.
It's really adorable.
And we're very fortunate to have access to some amazing professionals, but that we're generally just trying to represent all of the pet parents who are out there like, oh, I'm seeing these things posted online. Oh, this book came out. Oh, what do I do with this? We're right there with you in the trenches trying to sort this out and share our journey with you. And sometimes our dog mom life includes popcorn and Girl Scout cookies too.
Yeah. I think people really need to understand that our entire social media life is dogs. I mean, when we're not doing social media, when I'm not doing social media and then feeding my dogs and everything. I mean, like literally everything we're doing through the day is content to promote.
It's either dogs or I'm doing something with the podcast, one of the other podcasts.
It's just like, I mean, just this morning when I took 2 pictures of filling a pill for Rodrigo, because I'm going to do a post tomorrow about, hey, if your dog won't do it, you can do this. I did a little short video of my first aid kit because I had to go dig it out to find the pills, because it's like, where did I put those? Oh, they're in a first aid kit. And then, okay, so we interviewed someone about homeopathy.
Under your ring.
Yes, I immediately ordered a homeopathy kit because I knew I had one and I couldn't find it anywhere. Turns out it was in my first aid kit.
Oh.
I mean, I tore apart the house gently looking for this kit after that interview and ended up ordering. So now I have 2 homeopathy kits, which is great. So I'm going to be putting those to use. But yeah, that's just so much of what we do. So it's really kind of fun to talk about food and TV with someone. It really is. Because otherwise I'm just sort of talking to my dogs. I talk to Johan too, but he mostly wants to talk about planting trees and fixing something on the house.
Oh my God. Tim recently got into smoking cigars. And like, I don't want to know anything about it. And I can tell you everything about it.
Does he have a humidifier?
No, a humidor? No, not yet.
Oh, is that right? A humidor, yeah.
He has a makeshift one out of like Tupperware or something, and like some of those like silica packets or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he has like a little journal that he like writes his reviews in. It's like very adorable. But like, I'm like, I don't want to hear about the notes. I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything about it. And he keeps telling me all about it. And I'm like, no, I don't want this in my brain.
Johan, I don't know what happened, but he came home one day with a humidor and cigars. He does not smoke. He has never done any he barely drinks. I think in his entire life, I think 56 years, he has, the amount of alcohol he has had would probably be less than what the average person drinks in a year. I mean, he just does not drink. He has no tolerance at all. So when he does drink, I have to drive him. Because it'll be one drink and it's like, oh, I'm done type of thing. So when he came home with these cigars, I was confused because he does not smoke. He does not drink. He does not do drugs. He doesn't have a tattoo. He was in the Army. He doesn't do any of these things. He's very, very clean. So I didn't understand. The humidor went on a shelf in the living room and it stays there. It doesn't get opened. He doesn't reference it or anything. I dust it off when I'm dusting the house. I don't bring it up because I don't want it to start, but I don't understand. I'm sure he told me where it came from, but I do not remember where it came from. It is what it is. But, well, that's why we do chapters. So if you don't want to hear our chit chat, you can bounce.
Well, anyway, you're right. That's why we have chapters. So if you don't like our chit chat, you can just skip ahead to the next chapter.
Yes.
And get to the next topic.
Super easy. Erin puts a lot of work into those chapters.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah, she is. She does way better. I would probably have half the amount of chapters she does, but she is very thorough so that you know exactly where you need to go if you want a specific thing. It's much appreciated. She is the hero of this podcast.
All right. Well, please keep us all posted on Rodrigo's progress.
I will. I'll go out there and check his gums, which I do every day now.
Yeah. I mean, it gets to be like an OCD thing of like checking on them. And
yeah. And it's like, I really need to stop. But mostly I can also see his tongue, because if his tongue is still really pink, then it's like, okay, you're doing good. All right, champ. Well, thanks so much. And it was fun talking to you.
Always a pleasure. Until next time, guys.
Bye, guys.